Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I am Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddie Grace Spiffle Webbin.
And today we'll be talking about Pokemon. That's a lie.
That's all we've been talking about for the last half an hour.
We actually got started about 30 minutes late because we were talking about Pokemon. Here's the thing about Pokemon. We all have very strong thoughts about it, and regardless of which of us is right, it's me. What matters what matters is that the series, I think it's really cool that the series is intricate and complex and deep and important enough to all of us that we can have these long arguments about it. You know? So props to Pokemon.
Yeah. Good job, Pokemon. Even if you fucked some things up and I'm not as interested in you as I used to be. But it's not your fault. I think I'm old.
Me and Eli are both fed up with Pokemon, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah. But so this episode is dedicated to Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's specifically dedicated to the ice cream Pokemon.
In loving memory of Pokemon. No, this episode is dedicated to the freedom fighters of the Mujahideen. I mean, Pokemon.
And today we'll actually be talking about the 7th part of Chrono Trigger, where we talk about all of the end game side quests.
Yep.
There are quite a few, and you can do them in any order. So this will be kind of a weird, just like let's pick which one to talk about first, sort of way.
The end is near.
Before we get to all of that, Eli, you could barely contain yourself talking about the thing you wanted to talk about this week, right before we started recording 30 minutes ago. So you tell us what happened this week.
I don't remember.
We talked about too much Pokemon and now you forgot.
I have completely lost it.
Yeah, something happened and you said you were going to tell us later, so it's later.
And you were like swallowing like a laugh or embarrassment or something as you said it. You're like, oh no, I gotta save that one for later. And we're just like, okay, but now it's gone.
I hate myself. I don't even, I can't. Oh God, my brain is broken. It's my birthday cheat week. And the sugar has already made me dumb. Dumber.
Eli, you got a long way to go if you want to be the dumbest person on this podcast. Sorry.
I had a meltdown recently and cut my own hair.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, I was like, I can't deal with all this hair in the back of my head. It's like I'm growing a tiny mullet and it's killing me. I have to get rid of it. And so like I attempted to use clippers and those kind of worked. And then I just like started chopping away with the scissors, and it's not the worst haircut I've ever had. It's definitely the only one I've ever given myself. And I'm not sure I'll ever do it again. But you know, I look passable.
Nice. My hair was getting really, really long, and so I thought, man, it would be really, really great if Texas would open back up so I could get haircuts. So what did I do? I gave myself a buzz cut because I don't want to fucking get coronavirus. It's that fucking easy. Just give yourself a goddamn buzz cut.
Oh, I don't look good with a buzz cut.
Nobody does, but we're also not going outside, so nobody will see you. Give yourself a shitty haircut.
I have to do video conferences, Sam!
Just give yourself a shitty haircut and don't talk to people and stay safe. That's it. The end.
I gave myself a not the worst haircut ever.
Good.
So
proud of you.
Other than that, like, yeah, I'm celebrating my birthday, so I just had a whole bunch of fucking ice cream and pizza, and I've got cake and cookies, and we watched Jojo Rabbit tonight, which is fucking fantastic. Highly recommend.
I heard that's a great movie.
Yeah, I bouncing off of your movie thing, I have found a service, and this is not a paid ad because I think the place might be ran by Nazis, so I don't know. So take this recommendation with a grain of salt. But I grew up when there was television, and the thing about television, specifically like movie channels and things like that, is somebody got to curate those and pick them for you. And there's just something liberating about somebody picking stuff for you. That,
100% agreed.
That like I miss. And so like, yes, I have way better selection on Netflix, and surfing Netflix is a lot like surfing, is a lot like channel surfing. But on channel surfing, you were forced to watch a couple seconds of a thing instead of just looking at the cover on Netflix. And there is a streaming service. Shout outs to Polygon's article that taught me about its existence. But it's called Pluto TV. And it basically is a whole bunch of TV channels, but it's not like actual TV channels. I think there's like 2 or 3 on there that are. What most of them are like, hey, streaming rights to show one movie one time are cheap instead of having it be on Netflix in perpetuity. So we're going to get Minority Report, and we can show Minority Report today. And so it's up next. And they have a whole bunch of those. But then they also have binge watching channels, which are like, the one I watch all the time is Doctor Who. But they don't put on first episode of the first Doctor and then play 790 something episodes. They just will like, oh, here's a storyline. Let's just drop in and do a storyline here and there. And so it's like shuffle for super long shows or shows that you just kind of want as background noise.
And
like they have a channel.
I missed part of this. Is this a subscriction service, or do you pay for these?
It is absolutely goddamn free.
Oh, wow.
It is magnificent. And so like the one channel we put on the most, or the 2 channels we put on the most, is MTV dating shows like Next or Disaster Date, or those sorts of things. They're daytime television from back in the day. Or this channel called Nosy, which it has all of the trashy daytime television shows like Jerry Springer and Maury and Wilkos and those sorts of things. And those are just perfect. Put them on because we don't care. Because who would binge watch Jerry Springer? Nobody would sit there and watch every episode of Jerry Springer from episode 1 to the end. But like, you kind of would watch it if it was on, and this service lets you just put stuff on, and I really, really am enjoying it. I think it's ran by Nazis because there are 4 Breitbart / Blaze TV related channels, and CNN is the closest lefty channel on there. Like all of their like ads and stuff seem like socially conscious, like the ads for Pluto TV, they seem to come from like a good person's place, but they have 4 shitty people channels, so could be ran by Nazis on the down low, but I don't actually know. So the fact that I called them potential Nazis proves I was not paid for this message.
Unless you're paid to appeal to Nazis.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
That's some very high level paid advertisement. It's like, we want you to suggest that we might be Nazis, but not actually say that we are. That way we get everyone to listen to watch our product.
Yes.
Anyway, that's very interesting.
If you love the classic Doctor Who, this is the only free place to watch it in America that's not stealing. So that's really cool, and you get like Doctor Who is like perfect for this because the Doctor, while he does have a continuous like thorough line from the beginning to the end, he's a dude. He shows up in episode 1. He discovers there's a problem. He solves the problem and he leaves. It doesn't matter where he leaves to. You can just watch whatever the fuck next episode you want. And that's good. I like it. I like it a lot. I also started playing Final Fantasy 14 this week. So I'm about to become a shut-in.
Lol.
What about you, Maddie? What did you do this week?
Nothing. I started playing Pokemon, hence the yelling about Pokemon.
Time to talk more about Pokemon. I see. Let's go.
I started playing Pokemon. I kind of had some depressies towards the end of the week there. I worked a lot on a personal project. Well, I say I worked a lot. I tried to work a lot, but didn't make a whole lot of progress just because it's stressful and mental health is hard. But I did. Mm-hmm. I am working on it. I'm going to do that after we're done here today. I don't know. I'm on the job hunt, trying to get a new job. I feel like some other major event happened, but I can't. Oh, right. I went to a drive-in movie theater, which is a lot of fun because I really miss the movies.
Oh my God, I love drive-in movie theaters. I haven't been to one since I was like 12.
I've never been to one. There were a few times in the last 5 years where I've considered going to one as like a date or idea or something, but it just never happened because guess what? There aren't very many of them nowadays. But I was just like, I fucking miss movies. The stupid Backstreet Boys reunion tour has really gotten in the way of me being able to go watch movies in the theater. I wonder if there's any drive-ins around here. And I found a chain of drive-ins in the Bay Area. The closest one is about 40 minutes away, which isn't too far, really. Because I'll drive 25 minutes to see my friends, you know. And they were closed, but they said on their site, we're going to reopen soon once we figure out this whole social distancing thing, right? So then they did open, and for a while, for their first week, their lineup was terrible. If I had to guess, I would say that they have to be very particular with their films, because I bet the drive-in theater probably has very, very tight profit margins, I bet. Mm-hmm. I mean, all theaters do, frankly. But the point is, you know, they're not showing every fucking new hit, right? They're showing random shit.
That's how drive-in theaters were when I was a kid. Like they were double features, and it was usually like a kid's movie that had been out for a while, and then an adult or a more adult movie,
right?
Not like a
yeah. So most of these movies were like either terrible or like, maybe it's okay, right? But I thought, you know, I'll wait till next week because I wanted to take my friend who loves movies, and tell my friends about it and say, let's all drive our cars let's all go. You know, that'll be a really fun thing to do. Anyway, they announced their next set of movies on Tuesday, and they announced it for Thursday, and boy, I said before week 1 was a bunch of horse shit. Week 2, they're like, yeah, we're doing a double feature of Jurassic Park and E.T.
Oh shit,
yeah. So it's like, okay. See, now you got my attention. So that was fucking awesome. I went and saw Jurassic Park. I didn't stay for E.T. It was very late. Also, I didn't know
I have so many memories of like running around outside with my dad before the movies started and just like playing with my sister and then like hopping in the car and watching a movie from there and then like falling asleep in the back of the pickup truck.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't do that
for the second
anymore.
movie.
The running around part.
Yeah.
You have to stay in your car, and you can only get out of your car to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom is one person at a time. I didn't have to use the bathroom while I was there, but yeah, I only did. But Jurassic Park, but the way they do the sound is you tune your FM radio to the sound, and it actually is very good quality. Very like perfectly fine as far as sound quality goes, and the picture was good. Anyway, I had a great time, and I'm probably gonna go again, probably maybe in a week or so. So if you're really craving the movie theater experience, give a Google, do a quick little Google, see if there's any drive-in theaters in your area. I'm sure they could use the help staying afloat financially, because Lord knows every other business can in these difficult times, what with the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. So yeah, highly encourage that. Shout outs to drive-in movie theaters. Anyway, that's it for me.
Cool. So without much further ado, because we're probably going to talk for like an hour and a half about this game, and we've already been doing this for an hour.
Whoops.
Let's listen to Frog's theme, because I don't think I played it yet, and we'll listen. Then we'll talk about this week's game.
So, this week, as Sam alluded, is side quest week. There's a bunch of side quests that are like, unlike a lot of other video games, these side quests are considered sort of part of the game. Your typical walkthrough will say, make sure to go do these. Your typical playthrough will include them. You know, it's that's why we're not skipping them. You know, like we often do skip side quests in other games, or we just vaguely talk about them. But these are large story chunks that are important to the game. So, I'm going to go through them in an order that I picked for what I just thought would be an effective order to go in. Some of them are very simple, and some of them are very complicated and interesting. I'll stretch the complicated, interesting ones sort of out throughout. So, first let's talk about, so how do you know about these side quests? When you go to talk to the old man at the end of time. Oh, and further, sorry, this is scattered. I actually do have this all planned, but not the part I'm talking through right now. When we last left our heroes, we had just revived Chrono, which is also technically a side quest. He is back to life, our sweet himbo king. He is now not a required member of the party. So now the party of Chrono, Marl, Luca, Frog, Ayla, Robo, and Magus, who, as a twist, is now a party member, are all going to go save the world, but not before doing a bunch of side quests, because funny enough, there's not actually any tension, because it's a time travel game. The end of the world is there whenever we feel like going to stop it, which is kind of funny. So the man at the end of time, Gaspar, gives us a bunch of hints. He says something like, a woman is in a forest. Huh? Go on, what?
Okay. So one thing that I think is really cool that since you were talking about bringing Chrono back, is Chrono coming back is technically a side quest, but it gets its own chapter name and on the save slot, but everything we're talking about this week does not. It just says the fateful hour, I think is what it's called from here on out. So like everything here on is meant to be optional, but like you're dumb if you don't play it.
What's also interesting is that many of these side quests are very interlinked. I did almost all of this with no guide because I thought it'd be fun to do it without a guide, and based on only on my pretty vague memories of the last time I played the damn game. And many of the side quests you might accidentally like trigger a quest trigger just while exploring the world, or while, I don't know, attempting to solve a different side quest. So it's a very complex web of quests, which is this is actually fucking awesome. Just personal opinion here. This part's way better than I remembered it being. I was fascinated by the construction of it. Anyway, so the old man gives you a bunch of hints. An old woman in a forest is waiting for you, or see, that's not what he says, but you know, or there's a factory somewhere in the future, stuff like that, right? So based on his hints, you fly around. So first I'll start with Robo. If you go to the future, so most of these quests are triggered just by exploring. We now have an airship, a flying airship that isn't a stationary time machine, and that can let us fly to a bunch of areas that we couldn't before. And most of the quest material is just, oh yeah, you couldn't go there earlier because you didn't have an airship. So if you go to the future, there's 3 new locations. Two of the locations are going to be important later, and one of the locations is this big factory. So you go there, and the computer's like, with Robo in your party. I didn't check if you go without Robo in your party. I bet nothing happens, and they say we got to come back with Robo. That's another thing. In this part of the game, instead of the scenes being party agnostic, almost every side quest requires you to put certain characters in your party because it's their side quest and they have to say things or do things. So anyway, you go with Robo and the computer turns on and it's like, oh, hey, Prometheus, welcome back. How dare you bring crappy humans to this place? So then you go through a dungeon, and the whole time there's a voiceover over the intercom taunting you. It kind of reminded me of like GLaDOS from Portal, right? They're just like, let's see how you handle this, you know? We get a bit of lore here, but not much. It's a pretty straightforward side quest. Basically, the voice tells us that in the 300 years since Lavos emerged, humans have been dying out and are overcome with despair. So basically, just like, why fight it? Just let them die already. So again, this happens as you're going through this. I thought very smartly designed and fun dungeon. Unlike breaking the pattern of dungeons set in the future. The other future dungeons all suck, but this one's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really liked this dungeon a lot, which was surprising because it had a really dumb gimmick, but I liked it, so I didn't mind that it was a really dumb gimmick.
Yeah, what do you think, Eli?
Electrocuting Robo and walking into the things, I thought was dumb, but was good.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I had a little trouble understanding parts of it.
It was pretty complex.
Like, the part where you have the 3 switches that you have to turn to in a specific manner to
was
open
there a
one
hint
of
for that?
No,
I did not find it. I just happened to, when I walked up, I got it first try.
For me, it was trial and error. Like I turned them all off, and then I just went one by one, turning them back on, and then I got it just randomly.
Here's the thing: I know enough about combinatorics because it's pretty simple, low level college or high school math to know that if there's 4 or 5 switches and they're you got to turn an arbitrary amount of these switches on or off, I'm like, damn, that shit's hard. Where's the hint, right? Walkthrough time. But when there's 3 switches, it's
there's only 6.
There's
only 6 of them. So
what?
So there's only 6 potential. So might as well just try them all.
8, but yes. I
was thinking of
It's 8.
Something else. I don't fucking remember.
It's 2 to, it's 2 to the third. But anyway, yeah, so when there's only 3 switches, it's just fuck it, I'll just brute force it. Yeah, so maybe there was a hint somewhere, maybe not. But yeah, it's a pretty fun dungeon. One of my favorites in the game, honestly. So anyway, so then the voice over the intercom does say one really interesting thing. She, and you'll see that she's a she in a second. Well, I don't know her pronouns, but her name's Mother Brain, so anyway, she talks about how Lavos will soon quote need to spread its children to destroy other worlds. I say quote. That's not a quote. That's me paraphrasing. But
so
anyway, I don't like the implications of that.
What she says
my math
is that
was off because I wasn't counting all on or all off. I was no, I swear it's just 6.
So what she says is that is, for the record, that is the life cycle of Lavos. I don't know when the game explains this, but the game kind of passively explains this throughout the game. Is that Lavos infests the planet, waits a bazillion years, blows up the whole planet, and then its children go off into the stars. This is literally its reproductive cycle, right? Which again is very Xenogearsy in that you think this thing's an evil monster that's just that's the size of your entire planet and is the most evil thing in history, but to him it's just the normal thing that it does, right? Which it's just he's just having kids, right? But anyway, Mother Brain, though,
Audrey too.
What?
From Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Oh my god! Fucking watch Little Shop of Horrors.
Sorry,
I've only seen it once. I really enjoyed it, but it's not where because my Summer is watching this show called Haven, and the main character on that is named Audrey, and that was the only thing coming into my head. And I was like,
what? I don't have a crystal ball. But anyway, so what Mother Brain says is that Lavos' spawn will soon destroy other worlds. But if the machines ruled the world, and again, this is me vaguely interpreting what she says. I think she said something like, if the machines ruled the world and killed all the humans and had total control of the world, they could revitalize the world and use the world's life, I'm thinking plants, animals, etc., to feed the Lavos spawn. And I think the implication is that if the Lavos spawn were taken care of, then they wouldn't spread to other planets. Therefore, that would actually be a very morally good thing, saving other worlds from destruction. This is not elaborated on. It's not much, but it's quite interesting. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. So you're like, oh, maybe the robots are actually okay. Anyway, then you find out they're doing Soylent to the humans.
Yeah.
So that's bad. They don't really follow up on that either. But there's a conveyor belt with a bunch of humans going through it and presumably getting ground into robo juice, and y'all are like, wow, that's bad, let's defeat the robots. And then that's if they don't follow up on it.
So kind of like the Soylent in Xenogears, where it's a thing that you happen upon, and then it's just part of the dungeon, and you keep going.
Anyway, so then after we've completed all the puzzles and stuff, there's a cutscene where a girl robot shows up. We know that she's a girl because she's pink and literally has a bow in her hair.
Yep.
Ms. Male character.
Which, on one hand, you could obviously be like, that's very, very sexist and stereotypy. But also, frankly, as a Tran who is very intentionally femme, I'm like, nah, I get it. If I was a robot and I wanted everyone to know I was a girl, I would paint my chassis pink and wear a bow.
I mean, that was how I did my transition. Was I took off all my pink clothes and I stopped wearing ribbons in my hair.
Yeah,
and it turned me into a boy.
Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, this girl's name is Atropos, and she's like, rah, humans are bad, let's kill them. Robo's like, Atropos, you've changed. And then she says, Mother Brain reprogrammed me to be better at killing humans. And then she drops a truth bomb that would be a massive plot twist if we cared, which is that Robo was intentionally programmed to hang out with humans and learn more about them, and then return back so the robots could better kill humans. But Robo's just like, nah, fuck that. And then they have a one-on-one fight.
My naming him Bender was very appropriate.
That's very funny. Yeah. After the fight, Atropos is back to normal, and she's like, oh no, Mother Brain must have fucked with my memories. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for doing that. And then she dies. So Robo is like kind of sad, but he's also like pretty chill about it. It's pretty interesting, actually, because there's this whole thing where, like, he's been rejected by his own kind, and he's, like, very fine with it. He's, like, a little bit sad, but he's also just like, yeah, no, these are my friends, sorry. Fuck off. Anyway, then you fight Mother Brain. She's not interesting. She's just like, blah, 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 humans bad. That's it.
Yeah, her fight is another one of those Magus traps, where if you use a level 2 magic and it hits everything in the room, she's like almost unbeatable. So you just punch her in the face instead, and she goes down real easy, real fast.
I had to cheat on this battle. I'll admit I was too bimbo for it. Even though it's pretty obvious. Well, it's obvious if you know one of your characters' abilities. Which to be fair, I did forget that Luca had a sleep spell. But yeah. So the big boss has 3 assistant baddies, and the assistant baddies all have, it turns out, 1 HP. And why are these assistant baddies bad? Well, the assistant baddies can heal the boss for 1,000 HP, and they do it constantly. So you can't hurt the boss. What you can do is you can kill 2 of the baddies and leave the 3rd one alive, and now is healing it for 1,000 health, only less frequently. I still couldn't keep up. My damage couldn't keep up. And the reason you don't kill 3 of them is, as Sam said, if you kill all 3 of them, then she shifts into mega fuck you mode. The solution that a walkthrough told me, which again, I probably could have figured this out myself, but I was lazy. Luca has a sleep spell, so you just put the baddie to sleep, and then it's not dead, but you can still just wail on the boss, and it becomes very easy. So, really cool little gimmicky boss. Yeah, you beat it. That's it. After, Robo's like kind of bummed, but again, like, I actually love him. I think he's very subtly written. He's feeling some kind of way, but he doesn't talk much about it. He's just like, well, all right, let's go. And you get a really good equipment. You get 2 weapons out of this. You get his best weapon in the game, and then a weapon that has a very, very, very low attack, but it increases based on, I believe, the last digit of your health.
Yeah.
And it can do up to 9 times its normal amount of damage. So it could result in Robo doing like over 3,000 damage in one hit. But it's very random. It's based on, again, ending HP, which is tough. The walkthrough I used did suggest that if his max HP ends in a 9, then it's easy, because you want a 9 in the end. So if his max HP is 9, all you gotta do is keep him fully healed, right? And then you're doing that max damage. That's interesting. I haven't played around with it yet. Anyway, that's Robo. On to the next one. Another really, really short quest. Actually, no. Let's talk about Ayla. Most people think that Ayla's quest in this game was cut because she does not have one, and it's conspicuous that she doesn't have one. So most people think maybe they were working on it, they just couldn't finish it, so they didn't put it in the game. Did y'all go to 65 million BC?
Yeah, so I think Ayla does have one. She just doesn't comment on it, and maybe it was her plot about it that changed, because the Rainbow Shell quest has 2 dungeons, and all the rest of the quests have 1 dungeon. I was going to mention
that. Yeah,
one of
that
those
one
dungeons is Tyranno Lair.
That one is interesting. That one has a surprise. Like I said, other than the Robo one we just talked about, all the rest of a lot of these other quests are very complex and time hoppy and weave things together in interesting ways. And and Sam, that's a very good point, Sam. So maybe that could be the case. But anyway, if you actually go to 65 million BC, there's nothing. The only thing is that someone says, hey, we found this rock, and they give you a silver rock, which unlocks a triple tech. Also, there's some new items you can get. Also, if you go and collect 10 of those like collectible items and go to the chief at the shop, he sells you a really fucking good armor, and you can buy as many of them as you want. It blocks, or maybe reflects, or absorbs, either blocks or absorbs, I can't remember, 80% of fire, which at this point we already have better fire armor than that, but it also has stupid high defense. So it's a very good armor. You can buy as many of them as you want if you feel like grinding. There is one interesting thing about Ayla, though. All the NPCs do have new dialogue, and their dialogue revolves around the idea that it's fucking cold now. Lavos, when he landed, kicked up a whole bunch of dust and clouds and smoke, and it's kind of blocking the sun, and they're definitely heading into an ice age that's going to kill off the dinosaurs and the reptiles, and probably kill off the majority of the humans as well. But these humans are ignorant of the fact that that's going to happen. They are very, they don't have very developed brains, and they don't know about how science works. So they're all just like, man, sure is cold, huh? It's really depressing, and I love it, actually. I think it rules. But that's it. That's it for that time period. Now let's cover one of the major ones. Let's see. Let's cover Luca. Okay. So, wait, there was no boss there. So, if you recall back in Zeal, there was talk of a special sunstone that powers everything until they decided to start using Lavos power instead. They even told us where it was, the NPCs. They're like, oh, the sunstone is on that floating island over there. We can even see it on the world map. So you're thinking, oh, is that going to be a side quest so I can get that sunstone? Before we could get the side... Gotcha. Before we could get that side quest, Zeal blew up, obviously. So where is it? Turns out it's pretty easy to find once again. So in the future, I mentioned there's 3 new locations. That one of them is a factory. Another one is a cave with nothing in it. And the third one is where you have to go for this quest. So you go in that place, and you're in a palace of obviously Zealian architecture. It looks like the Sunken Palace. It looks like the Black Omen, as we'll go to later. You go there, and there's a really fucking cool boss inside. It's a pretty tough boss unless you can outfit your whole party with fire armor, or 2 out of 3 with fire armor, which makes it a little bit tricky depending on your party composition and whether or not you're under-leveled like me. But it's a pretty cool and not super hard boss. After you beat this boss, you get the Sunstone, but it's out of juice. It's the Moonstone. I believe Robo says something like, man, this Moonstone could be charged up to be a Sunstone if only it could sit in the sun for, I don't know, about 65,002,300 years. So you're like, So you go all the way back to 65 million BC. You go to the only new location, the only other location in this entire time period, which is a little cave with a very conspicuous opening in the ceiling where some sun shines in. It's implied that this place is always in the sunlight, which makes no sense, but, it's magic or something. So you put the rock in it. And then you put the rock in it and you go back to the future, and now it's all charged up. So yay, problem solved. That was an easy quest. Except that's not how it goes. in the future, the stone isn't there. So we're like, fuck, you're saying that we left this rock in an unguarded cave for 65,002,300 years and someone took it? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't imagine that would happen.
If only we left Robo behind to guard it for 65,002,300 years and then just picked him up later. He's a robot. You can do that. But anyway, so we go back to 600 AD and it's back. So it is in 600 AD. So then we go to 1000 AD and it's gone again. So Luca's like, okay, maybe someone in 1000 AD took it. Thankfully no one from like 800 AD took it, because then this quest would be unsolvable. Right? Important things only happen at these time periods, which is actually kind of lampshaded later. Anyway, time to explore. Turns out a dude in Poor has it. Now, if you recall, I believe I had a memorable moment weeks ago in our very first episode about this guy. He's a random NPC and he's super selfish and his whole family hates him and is miserable. It's actually quite sad. Now, when I shared that weeks ago, I didn't mean for that to be foreshadowing. I just thought it was cute Dragon Quest style NPC dialogue. But it turns out it was a side quest, which is going to be a recurring theme today. Turns out that guy found the stone, but he won't give it to you because he's selfish. What can you do? Well, if you can believe it, I actually already did this quest. Like, all the stuff I'm about to tell you, I had just already done without realizing it earlier in the game. I was just exploring and having a good time. So it was very cool that what I thought was just an innocuous, off the beaten path side quest turns out was a major late game quest. So it just like tied in later. It was very cool. So there's this lady in 600 BC, the same house as the selfish guy, who desperately needs some jerky. Oh, also the king in 1000 AD also wants jerky, but the cook is like, what the fuck is jerky? If we recall, the chef in 600 AD specialty was jerky. Again, we delivered some of that to his brother, the Knight Captain, in the first episode of this series. But when we talk to him again, nope, he's not making it right now. He says, I don't have necessary ingredients to make jerky. Also, it's too spicy for most people to appreciate anyway. So what's the girl to do? Turns out a shop in Poor in 1000 AD just sells jerky. So you get it, you go back to 600 AD, give the jerky to the lady in Poor, and she says, wow, I'll give you like $1 zillion for this. But we, being good JRPG heroes, say, nah, girl, have it for free. She's touched by her generosity and vows to instill her family with the same generosity that we have.
She wasn't going to do that unless we gave her free jerky.
Yeah, she was like, wow, I didn't realize that being nice was good. Turns out you invented the idea of being nice.
Yeah.
So we go back to 1000 AD.
We've done some good things and some bad things. We invented the whole concept of being nice, but we also invented the criminal justice system, so it's kind of a wash.
It's kind of a wash. We invented cops. So we go back to 1000 AD, and the mayor's nice now. His whole family loves him. He's literally just like, hey, I found this stone, you want it? And he gives it back. We return to where it's supposed to go, and we go back to 2300 AD, and there it is. We just pick it up, no boss or nothing. What do we do with this damn thing? We go back to 1000 AD to Taban. That's Luca's dad. Quick aside, if you return to Luca's dad at multiple points throughout this journey, he gives Luca fucking amazing equipment. Like multiple times throughout the journey. He's like, hey, you want a Taban helm? Hey, you want a Taban armor? And it's always super fucking good. But anyway, at this point, you return to Taban again, and he either gives you all that shit if he didn't already give it to you earlier, and also he's like, ooh, the Sunstone, cool. So now we realize that this was, in fact, Luca's side quest all along. I mean, if you want to call it that. And he makes some amazing equipment for Luca out of it. He makes two things. He makes her best gun in the game, and he makes some shades. What's cool is those shades, I forget what they are because something's about to happen with them later. Yeah, so that's the Luca quest. I really like this one. It's cool. I don't know. Y'all have any thoughts on this?
On this half of it, no. So this sun boss was the one that destroyed me last week when I had to do the save chrono thing twice because I was just exploring, finding looking for chests, and I accidentally walked right into it. Because, like, it doesn't have a dungeon.
Oh, that happened to me too.
A room.
Yeah.
It's like a room, and you just walk up far enough, and then, boom, there's a boss, and there's no warning at all. And
yeah, you can just straight up trigger this quest.
It's just kind of straightforward.
Yeah, so that's one of the major quests. Now let's talk again about another one of the really quick ones, Magus's side quest. Actually, no,
oh yeah, I forgot he even had one.
Actually, no. Let's do Cyrus. Let's do Cyrus first. So, Frog's side quest. So turns out there's a whole ass continent in 600 AD and 1000 AD that we couldn't get to before, complete with like a town and everything. We just didn't know about it before. It was like over there, right? On it is a town and a big old ruined castle. If we go there in 1000 AD, I actually didn't do this in this order, so I'm just going to share it in more like the intended quest order. Say we go to this area first in 1000 AD. We find out that it's the town of Chiron, Char's Revenge. I don't know. It starts with a C. Anyway, and it's pretty much just a town, nothing particular happening. If we go to the big ruined castle, there's a big enemy that we can't beat. Oh, it's the Ghost of Cyrus. We know that because the game's UI says that it's Cyrus. If we put Frog in our party, he's like Glenn, but that's it. He can't. He's too enraged. He's too evil and ghostly to talk to Frog. So there's nothing you can really do. So we go back to 600 AD. Then there's a bunch of shenanigans. In 600 AD, we try to go to the castle to resolve this quest, but we can't because there's holes everywhere in the floor because it's too ruined. And there's a local carpenter who would help you, but he's too busy having a good time drinking at the bar. Also, he doesn't have his tools. I don't know why a carpenter doesn't have his tools. It's just weird. Turns out if you go to literally the exact same location, but 400 years later, you can get some tools there. That part's a bit random. And then you go back and you give him the tools and he's like, cool. So then he goes back to his house where if you had explored earlier, you see that at his house, there's like these 4 random these random NPC guys, and they're just his apprentices. And they're all just like, yeah, our boss is a jerk. He works us to the bone. And apparently they just hang out in his house all day, every day until he decides to come and tell them to do something and give them work. It's like hanging out at a union hall kind of, except there's only one employer.
Yes.
And anyway, so he's like, all right, boys, let's go fix up the castle. I don't know why. They just randomly are like, what if we went and fix up the castle for no reason? No one's paying us to do this yet. We're just doing it. So they go
in the Slattery cut, it's implied that one of us said, hey, you should go and fix up the northern ruins so we can go and explore it.
Ah, gotcha. Still weird. They do it for no reason.
Yeah.
So they fix up the ruins a little bit, but they say, hey, man, we fixed up some of the ruins. We literally fixed one hole. But we can't fix any more because there's enemies. So there's a few rounds of this side quest where you go and you clear out enemies, and then you go back and you tell them, hey, I cleared out the enemies, and they go, cool, and then they go and they fix some of the holes. Then you go and you fight more enemies, and you go back and you say, hey, I fixed them, and then they go and fix some of the holes. And this time, each time you have to pay them to go do it, which is pretty fun. It's a cute little thing. It's not very strenuous or anything. It's quite easy. Fun thing about this part of the game, the difficulty curve is completely flat, because you can do these quests in any order, right? So the difficulty of all the bosses is it's way more dependent on your equipment and also on your party composition. That's why every boss is like a little gimmicky puzzle, because it actually is pretty tough, but it's like, okay, use your brain. Either A, figure out what party composition you need to handle this boss, or B, maybe go do a different side quest and get a very useful item. A useful armor that helps you. It's again, me doing a relatively low level run, I was having a really fun time puzzling this out. It's quite cool. But also that means that your average battle is almost just like you can mash the button level easy, especially once you start getting the, again, stupid, like I had already done the moral quest by this point, so I already had the most amazing goddamn equipment in the game. So anyway, so you do that a bit. Finally, you've cleared out the castle, and you go to the basement, and there's a gravestone, and the gravestone says, "Cyrus, the fool who challenged Dracula, rests here." Sorry, when I say Dracula, I mean Magus. Frog and Cyrus have a little. So Cyrus's ghost shows up, and he and Frog have a chit chat. Frog feels bad that Cyrus died. Cyrus is like, "Nah, you good, mate." That's it. And then we get some really good treasure. That's this whole. That's it. That's the side quest.
Massa and Mune pop out, and we're like, "Oh, we couldn't be the true Massa Mune as long as you doubted yourself." So now the Massa Mune is powered up, which is important because the hero's badge is dependent on you having Massa Mune equipped.
Yeah.
So now that Massa Mune is now that it's your best weapon, you now get hella good criticals off of it, which is cool.
Yeah, so that's fun. Also, Masa and Mune, they pop out of the sword, and their dialogue definitely made me think there was going to be a boss, because they said something like, they said like it's slash in time, but they also said something else. They said like time for round 2, and I thought it was like, oh fuck, remember that super hard boss from earlier? They're gonna do it again just to like test us, like to test the heroes. Mm-hmm. Fuck, but no. Turns out they just meant round 2. Just meant like the sword's better now. Let's go have fun. Oh, whew, thank goodness.
Yeah, I think this quest should not have existed. I think Frog
had already resolved his plotline.
He had completely resolved his plot line. I did not think he was doubting himself at all for this to really make sense. They just wanted a delve more into Cyrus X Glenn.
Yeah,
for the slash fiction,
which is valid.
I was gonna say I am absolutely shipping Cyrus and Glenn. Glenn is an adult. I'd like to make that clear.
Yes. But yeah, so that's that side quest. It's again pretty quick and dirty. One more thing I will say, I didn't do this, but I was checking a walkthrough just to fill in some of these notes, because I had already played most of this before Sam reminded me I was supposed to be doing notes. So I was like, oops. So anyway, it turns out if you take Frog at this point back to Denadoro Mountains, you can get an extra item that unlocks another triple tech. So I'll probably do that.
Cool.
I'll probably do that next week. Look, there's a little bit of a trick to it. Go ahead and fucking look it up on a walkthrough, right? But one of the triple techs in the game is locked behind an item. So
the thing that sucks about triple techs being on items is we're at the end game where we have a lot of really, really good accessories.
Yep.
So I don't really want to waste a slot on a triple tech that I will only maybe sometimes use, even if it's great. Agreed. It's like, I might need to heal this round, and I'm not going to wait a whole ATB bar to use the triple tech.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put on the counters on my 2 main hitters and the magic upper on my magic.
Yeah,
one,
I agree. And I will say that I was doing some research for this, and it turns out that every triple tech in the game that doesn't require an item has Chrono as a part of it. Turns out every single combinatoric you can make of Chrono and 2 other people who aren't Magus is a triple tech. So Marl Luca, so Chrono as the first person, plus Marl Luca, Marl Frog, Marl Robo, Marl Ayla, Luca Frog, Luca Robo, Luca Ayla, Frog Robo, Frog Ayla, Robo Ayla. All of those combinations plus Chrono are triple techs, but that's it. So if you don't want to have Chrono in your party, then you have to do one of the ones that requires an item, because all the other ones require Chrono, which is interesting. It's just an interesting little structural thing there.
And it's a little game design emphasis on the plot line of last week, where it's it has to be someone who's important. And even though Chrono has not really said anything, he's still important because he's the group leader.
Yeah.
And even though we don't get any of his personality because he doesn't say anything, you still kind of get a feel that everyone can do this because Chrono is there to support them.
Yeah, you get the feeling that his determination and heroism. Yeah, his determination and heroism is what inspires everyone to keep going, even though that's all completely implied and not really shown. Anyway, so now let's do another one of the major side quests. Let's do Marls. Marls is fucking cool. It's the most narratively and structurally interesting of all, even though it's not too tough to actually do. All of the side quests in this game.
It's like piddly to do because instead of being flat, these are the same mobs you fought doing spoils. We did this quest first week. When you do that quest again, it's the same mobs. Yeah, and they died of 100 HP of damage.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, why am I using Dark Mist?
Yeah,
I'm doing 2,000 damage.
So if you're like me, you probably thought that you probably had the Luca, Marl, and the one we just talked about, Frog Quest, somewhat entangled because they all involve 1,600 AD, and also both the Marl and Frog Quest involve this new town, just different parts of the same town. So they're all like, in fact, this exact same bar. So remember the bar where we got those so the bar that we had to go to in order to get the tools, or no, the bar with the guys that wanted the tools in 600 AD. So literally step 2 of Frog side quest is also step 1 of this side quest, which is, again, they're all very intertwined. In that bar, Toma is there, if you recall the Great Explorer Toma, just a minor character that you occasionally see. He's like, oh, hey.
He was a minor character whose life's goal was to find the legendary rainbow shell.
So you've seen him in various bars, right? So you see him, he's like, oh, hey, Chrono, hey, guys, long time no see. I finally found out where the rainbow shell is, y'all. I'm not going to tell you where, though, because I'm going to come back a hero. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to be a hero. Oh, hey, by the way, just apropos of nothing, if I don't come back, please pour soda on my gravestone, because I just love soda. Because I just love soda.
I didn't even think of this as an alcohol reference, because he's just like, pour one out for me, and hands you his flask in the slattery cut. And I'm that's really cool, but I didn't even think that it would be soda.
He literally says, pour a soda on my grave in the
cracking open a cold one with the boys, where a cold one is a ice cold Dr. Pepper. No, it's Mountain Dew. He's a gamer.
It's true.
Mountain Dew Code Red. But anyway,
I would pour that out.
So the funny thing is, you can't do anything with this information. So all you do is you just jump ahead to 1000 AD. And it turns out on the world map is a gravestone. So you click on the gravestone and you go to this cape, this really cool, dramatic looking cape. So you go to the edge of the cape, and there's Toma's grave, and you look at Toma's grave and it's like, here lies Toma the explorer. He never did find the rainbow shell. So you pour one out for him. You pour your Mountain Dew, your ice cold Mountain Dew Code Red gamer fuel on his grave, and his ghost shows up and he goes, oh, hey guys, I haven't seen y'all in 400 years. That's kind of weird that y'all are showing up now. I'm not going to read into that. So yeah, it's true, I died. So the rainbow shell, here's where it is. So he tells us where it is. He says it's in this cave, blah, 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 blah. So you go back to 600 AD and you go to the cave he told us about. And this part's so fucking cool. So we've already been tying our different plot lines that were previously separate together, right? So you go into this cave, and you go down like one floor, and then you go down another floor, and all of a sudden, we're in Azula's throne room from the Reptite lair. Turns out that deep underground is the lair from 65 million years ago. It still exists as a ruin. We go through this dungeon literally backwards. The ruin, it's a combination of the original architecture combined with just random interconnecting cave areas. And we go through it backwards, climbing down until we get to the jail cell where our buddy Kino was held all those years ago.
Which makes me think that this was Ayla's and something was cut, because it happened to be where Kino was in the Tyranno lair. I think Ayla was supposed to do something here. She doesn't.
Maybe.
She doesn't comment on it whatsoever.
Maybe. But yeah. So it's just really cool. That it's like a blast from the past, right? And the characters comment on it. They're like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" So anyway, you find the rainbow shell, and you're like, "Cool. It's too heavy, though. Let's go tell it. Let's go tell King Guardia that it's here, and he can have his soldiers get it." So for some reason, I'm not really sure why we do this. Maybe it's because we didn't feel like waiting, because we're kind of on a mission here. We go and we tell King Guardia, "Hey, there's a rainbow shell down there. We're not going to wait for you to go get it. Just go get it and keep it in your king's armory. And here's a note. 400 years later, keep it as a family heirloom. 400 years later, some adventurers are going to show up wanting it. Please give it to them." And again, I don't know why they didn't just say, "We'll wait for a few days while y'all go get it, and then we'll have it." But whatever. So then you go to 1000 AD, and well, let's take a brief pause, because there's an optional scene that you might see for the first time here, if you're, I think, Eli. But if you're me, you have seen it last week, and you just didn't mention it as a memorable moment because there was other shit happening, right? So there's a one-off scene that can happen, I think, at a variety of points in the game, depending on when you do it, right? Where
it's basically any time after you can freely time travel after the courtroom scene,
which is cool because that's the crazy thing is we've explored the 600 AD castle till the hither and yon. We've explored it many times. The 1000 AD castle, the only time the plot requires you to go in it until this point is the second you set foot in the castle, you're captured, and then you escape. So it's possible that you've gone through the entire game without ever bothering to go back to the castle at the main place where you started the game. I went there last week just out of curiosity, like, wait a second, I never went back to the castle. It's just been sitting there. This is an area I haven't explored yet. But whenever you go back there, what happens is there's actually some dramatic stuff. You know, the king is like, "Marl, come, you know, stop going on adventures. Come be the princess." And she's like, "No, Dad, I hate you." I kind of forget all of it. Eli, do you remember this scene a little bit better? I remember the main point, but if you remember it better than I do, you could share because you did it this week.
I didn't go and talk to her dad afterwards because I was like, I got other shit to do. And then by the time I got back there, I couldn't go talk to her dad because he was already in court.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So I think you talk to her dad and they have some basic father-daughter friction. But the important point is that if you talk to the Chancellor is like, again, I forget, this was last week, so I kind of forget, but you talk to the Chancellor and the Chancellor drops this hot goss, which is that the reason, the king he basically says that the king is a shitty person. The king sucks. And he tells Marl very subtly, as if it's just a casual thing to drop into the conversation, that the king kind of inadvertently was responsible for his wife's death, for the queen's death, her mom's death. And that's because when she was really sick, he wouldn't spend time with her. He said, "No, being a king's more important, blah, 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 blah. The kingdom's more important." So then she got depressed, and then she died. So the father basically abandoned them. Marl gets really upset about this. Obviously, this is exacerbating some existing tensions with her daddy. Again, you can go have a conversation with him and yell at him. I forget. It basically is just her being mad, and then she runs out the door. That's, pretty much it, whatever. So that's the setup. She yells at him, and it ends with you not being able to go back into the castle. So I realized this because the reason I went there was to get the sealed chests that are in there. So I was trying to do that last week. And I saw the scene, and in the end, she storms off, and the king's like, "You know what? Fuck you, never come back." And I was like, well, now I can't. Oh yeah, that's right. It's very dramatic. He's like, "I never want to see you again. You're not my daughter." That's right. It's a very dramatic scene, actually. Again, it was a great scene. I just forgot it because it was last week.
Wow. And I totally missed it.
Oh well.
Great.
Yeah. There's probably ones that people still haven't found, even though they've like ROM hacked the game. They probably still haven't found scenes like this because the game just does
there's a
that.
lot of
It's
very
so
context sensitive stuff. See, I got that scene because I always do the thing where if I see that a bunch of important plot characters are congregated in the center of a room, I know to skirt around the edge of the room so that I can make sure I explore and get all the chests before I activate the cutscene. That's literally what I did. I was like, oh, look at all those important characters in the middle of the king's chamber. I'm not going to go over there. So
I've done that a lot too.
like imagine Marl being like over in the corner and the king's like, Marl? She's like, I'm not here. She runs up, gets a chest, runs out, and the king's like, was that my daughter? Did she just run up the stairs to the chancellor's room and then come back down holding a new giant shield? And the chancellor's like, yeah, I guess. And they're like, I guess we'll just keep hanging around in the middle until she shows up again later. That way I can yell at her. But anyway, so you may or may not have seen that scene earlier. So you come back to 1008. Oh, and you also got some very big hints earlier that the chancellor is bad because because ACAB, all chancellors are bastards. No, all chancellors are bad guys. So anyway, so you return to 1000 AD. And oh no, turns out the king is on trial? What? So we get a little second courtroom scene. So you also find out that there's a couple of rooms that you can't go into. Like, for example, there's an armory where they're like, you can't come in. And Marl's like, I'm the princess. And they're like, we don't care, you can't come in. But if you go to the courtroom, which is weirdly enough at the top of a tower, weird place to put a courtroom, but whatever. We didn't know that's where it was earlier because they transported it to us in a cut. They did a movie cut to get us there, so we didn't realize it was at the top of a tower, but it is. So you go to the top of the tower, and again, they're like, you can't come in here. There's a trial. And then if Marl's in your party, she yells and does her special sprite where she's yelling. And she's like, let us in. I'm the fucking princess. And they're like, okay,
I love
Jesus.
her yelling sprite.
She's really so good. One of the best fights in the game. So you go in there, and there's this trial scene where basically the chancellor is putting the king on trial for being a traitor to his country, which I guess you can do. I guess the king can't just be like, fuck you, I'm the king. I guess they have a constitutional monarchy, I guess.
Well, they can do that because we invented cops.
Yeah, we're so basically we didn't just invent cops, we invented the deep state, because it turns out the deep state has all the power and can coup the king. So anyway,
lay low.
So anyway, we go into the courtroom, and they're like, yeah, there's this family heirloom, and there's a note that says one day people are going to want the heirloom, but it's not there. And the king's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And the chancellor's like, you stole the heirloom, you sold it for chump change because you're a selfish jerk. Maybe you bought jerky with it, you pig. He doesn't say it, that's my own interpretation, but he do be loving jerky. So anyway, you're like, so Marl is like, no, he didn't do it, and he's like, yeah, he did, blah 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 blah.
No, Marl is dumber than that. She goes,
that's right.
We don't have an heirloom, because she forgot that we just went and did that
5 seconds ago. Maybe we could say that she wasn't in your party when you did that. Maybe she was chilling on the epic. Anyway, he's like, blah blah blah, unless you can somehow produce the heirloom, then nothing, then we can't prove it, then you can't prove his innocence. So you're like, oh wait, the armory, Christ,
what the fuck was that?
That was a gunshot. Those happen around here. So that's been more than usual.
You're not in Texas anymore.
It's been more than usual lately. I guess the quarantine's really getting to people's heads. So anyway, you go down to the armory, and there's a really quick little one-off gauntlet dungeon that's like a straight line. And yeah, so you fight a bunch of... It turns out that Naga, basically all the villains from the very first arc of the game, like the demons that infested the cathedral, all those enemies are here. And they're the exact same stats that they had before. So you just annihilate them. It's hilarious. And you fight your way through the armory, and sure enough, at the back of the armory is the rainbow shell. It was in the armory all along. I guess when the chancellor said the king stole it, they were just like, is it in the armory? The chancellor's like, no. Don't go check, though.
in my head canon is that the Chancellor was like, all right, I'm going to steal it so I can say that the king stole it. And he tries to pick it up and he's like, shit, this is heavy. Never mind. Demons, you stay here and make like big arm if any guards come down to see if the shell is there.
It's
like,
very
nothing
strange.
to see here.
It's very strange. So anyway, you get there and you break off a piece of that Kit Kat bar and you go back up to the courtroom. And this time the guards are like, bitch, we're not letting you into the courtroom. We don't care whose daughter you are. And they're like, fine, we'll go a different way. So you find a different... Oh, also, I should say, as you're going up the stairs to get to the courtroom, you pass a very conspicuous locked treasure chest. And that doesn't happen in this game. Like, you get, like, sealed magic chests earlier, right? But they're not just like, this chest is locked. That, like, getting keys isn't... That's not a thing that you do in this game. It's not fucking Dragon Quest. So it's very funny. So you've run past this chest, like, 4 times by now. Anyway, you go the back way. I actually forget how you get to the back way, but it's like it takes you like
it's just a camera cut.
Oh, okay, it's camera cut. Cool.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to the courtroom, and if you recall the courtroom, it's this beautiful work of sprite work with a huge stained glass window in the back behind the judge's pulpit. And all of a sudden, Marl's shadow, her silhouette rather, shows up behind the fucking stained glass, and she's like, "You'll never get away with this, evil Chancellor." And he's like, "What the fuck? Oh, it's Marl." And then she and your whole party burst through the stained glass window, like in slow motion. Like she does does a fucking hero jump.
It's such a great scene.
And then y'all all land, which this must have been a very long jump. Because of like the camera focal depth of this scene. Like, you're at the back of the courtroom, they're all in the middle of it. Anyway, you fucking jump through the stained glass and land right in the middle of the courtroom. And you're like, here's the fucking thing, we found it, ha ha ha. And basically, you save the day, and the Chancellor is like, God damn it. And then the Chancellor turns out all along, he was Yakra. He's literally the descendant of the Yakra from the evil Chancellor was 400 years ago. He's in a long line of Yakras who have been waiting for their revenge for literally 400 years. And he tried the exact same plan, which was being an evil Apparently they only have one way of being bad, which is pretend to be an evil Chancellor.
Well, this is the third time they've done the joke of, okay, so if a generation is about 25 years, then let's pick 8. The eight people, or 8 generations later. So you had Ozzy the 8th is the mayor in Medina Village, and this is Yakra.
No, he's not the mayor. He is,
he's not anymore.
He's not anymore. Yeah.
We haven't talked about that quest yet.
Whoops! Spoiler alert.
We actually did. I forgot to wrap it up. Anyway, go on.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But this is the third time they've used that joke, and this is the payoff.
It's still great.
It's quite funny. So actually, I'll revisit that in a second. Anyway, so you fight Yakra. He's actually pretty fucking hard. I beat him in my first try, but I was in the RPG loop for a while. I used a lot of revives. I even at one point used a Mega Elixir, which I only had one of, and it's like, dude, shouldn't you save that for the final boss? It's like, yeah, but I don't feel like getting a game over and trying this again, so just like, fuck it, I'll use a Mega Elixir to beat this one random unimportant boss, because fuck that guy, I just want to beat him. So I did.
Low level Chrono Trigger sounds so wild, because I did 3 Falcon punches and he was fucking dead.
I'm having a really good time. All these bosses are stupendously well designed. Even though this one, and I mean, like, this one's not super hard. If I'd gotten a game over and fought him again and put 2 seconds into party composition or equipment, I would have owned him, right? Since all the battles before him were super easy, I kind of thought it was going to be a joke battle, but it's not. Anyway, after you beat him, you find out, so Marl and her dad make up. And you find out that, hey, that whole thing about the dad not being there when his mom died, yeah, the Chancellor made that up. He was just trying to sow discontent between father and daughter. The dad was there when the mom died. The dad was loving, and the mom loved her husband. Like, he was a great dad all along. Marl feels like shit for doubting him. Because the thing is, he was being a bit of a jerk. He was like, "You're my daughter. You need to be more responsible." Like, they were having typical father-daughter drama. But what she feels bad about is that she then instead of believing in her dad and trying to make up with him, she believed this lie that he was actually a really shitty guy. Instead of trusting that he actually was not a shitty guy because he'd been there for her whole life. So they make up, and it's actually very, very touching. And now we have the rainbow shell. So Melchior shows up and makes just a zillion fucking amazing pieces of equipment. And the thing that Luca got from her last quest gets turned into an even more amazing piece of equipment. So basically, everyone in the game is just fucking decked out at this point.
Yeah, you get a kick-ass sword for Chrono. You get even better shit for everybody. I think the one thing you don't get is anything for Marl. Her late game equipment was in Cyrus's quest for some fucking reason.
I think you're right. You also Melchior can take the rainbow shell and make two things out of it. He can either make one prism dress, which is a phenomenal piece of equipment that only the ladies can wear, because only ladies can wear dresses. And the other thing he can make is he can make 3 prism helmets. I figured, hey, 3 pretty good pieces of equipment is probably better than 1 amazing one. I'll have 3 helmets. And sure enough, the helmets are fucking great. The helmets protect against all status effects and also increase your magic defense, I think, by 9. And also have great defense scores. So they're fucking great. Sam, it sounds like you got the dress.
Yeah, I got the dress, which I then have not put on anybody because being immune to 1 out of every 5 attacks is a lot better.
I will say, for both of y'all, next week when we go through the Black Omen, you do get to make that choice again. So you get to do either 3 helmets or 1 dress. You get to do that again one more time. Or maybe you just get a dress. Either way, the point is you can get more prism shit a little bit later. So I'm planning on getting the dress later, right?
Yeah, I got the helms this time.
Yeah. So you could theoretically have 2 dresses by the end of the game, which is pretty cool. So that's that amazing quest. Again, you're fucking decked out. Okay, I wanted to blast through all those, and frankly, I think I did a pretty good job going fast, but it was also like 6 fucking quests, so I didn't blast through as much as I wanted to. I wanted to get to the last one. Oh, to back up,
we didn't touch on Magus's. You basically just show up and you fight.
Oh, I said I would do it later, and I didn't. You're right. I'll blast it through it real fast. So Magus's quest is a comic relief quest. It's extremely fucking funny, but I will skip through it. Basically, you know how Magus had a castle that was surrounded by an endless dark pit within a deep forest on a secluded island? Well, turns out next to that secluded island is another smaller secluded island with another smaller forest, with another smaller endless dark pit, with another smaller castle right inside of it. So you go into this like shittier, smaller version of Magus's castle, and it's Ozzy's castle. Ozzy has regrouped and still wants to rule the world with Slash and Fleet. You fight through the small fort and avoid some obvious traps or trigger them because you're me and you're like, fuck it, I don't care about triggering a trap. And then you fight Super Slash and Bonus Flea. They're just not what they're called, but they're just better, right? They're harder than before, but not as harder as you are stronger, so they're pretty easy. You then go to the next room, and it's actually kind of hard. You fight Super Slash, Flame and Flea, and Omega Ozzy all at once. Because it's all 3 of them at once, it's a little tough, but you still win. Then you go to the final room, and you fight Ozzy all by himself. This part rules. It's the same joke as before. He has a barrier, and there's levers behind him. You attack the lever, but oh no, the floor opens beneath you, and he's like, haha, I won't fall for that again. So you fall down. Here's the thing. You fall down to literally the previous room. So then you just go back up the stairs, and you're like, fuck it, let's fight again, idiot. So you fight him again. There's 2 more levers. But hilariously, you don't even have to hit the lever. As soon as the battle starts, a literal cat shows up off screen, and the cat hits the lever, thus defeating Ozzy forever. That's it.
You know what's great?
What?
There's a fan canon that's Magus's cat. It obviously can't be because it's been 12,000 years, but he was so close with his cat that his cat came up and was like, you know what?
Maybe the cat got transported through time, just like he did.
Maybe so. And so his cat is like, you know what? Fuck Ozzy.
That's a great idea. Anyway, so yeah, this is all just comic relief. It's really funny. Also, if you go to 1000 AD, the Mystic Village that hated humans earlier, now they like humans. And that shop that sold stuff that was super expensive, now it's the cheapest shop in the game. So that's fun. Okay.
And also, Mayor Ozzy is now the butler in that house that he was in before.
Yeah, which is pretty funny. So anyway, on to the final quest. The final quest is damn it, scrolling up, scrolling down, scrolling up, scrolling down. So this final quest, the Fiona quest, starts in Zeal, technically. Remember when we gave that lady the plant? She says her descendants are going to respect nature. So, and actually, she survives the fall of Zeal. She's in the destroyed. She's in the camp in the Dark Ages, and she's like, hopefully, the world will be beautiful again one day. Now, in 600 AD, this girl named Fiona, her house is in the middle of a desert. She says that she wants to restore the forest, but there's monsters. I believe we talked about her in a previous week, vaguely. Turns out there's a little dungeon. You go in this little dungeon, basically you fall under the sand, and you fight a bunch of monsters, and there's a pretty tough boss, but not absurdly tough, but like, you gotta be pretty smart about it.
Remix of the Zombor.
Yes.
The remix of the Zombor fight from the Magus'.
Yes, from the bridge.
600
AD. It's a very interesting fight. Pretty difficult. It took me 2 or 3 tries. It's got some interesting strategy to it, but not too bad. So then you return, and Fiona says, "Thank you for your help, and I promise to work hard to turn this desert into a beautiful forest, even though I won't live to see my dream finally come true." Out of nowhere, Robo just goes, "Hey, can I stay behind?" So we leave him, and now he's visible.
So in the Slattery cut, she's like, I really want to work on it, but I know I won't live here for forever. And shit's hard. Like I have to go and rest all the time. I really wish that there was somebody I could trust who would do this forever, and it would be a bonus if they didn't have to like sleep and eat and all of that sort of stuff. They could just work for, I don't know, 400 years straight. If there was anybody like that you could think of, that would be wonderful.
That's funny. So Robo is like, I'll help. So we leave him. He's now visible on the world map, toiling away and being extremely cute. If you exit and re-enter the map, you can see him doing a variety of different animations. He's a cutie pie. We jump to 1000 AD to see Fiona's dream fulfilled, where there was once a lifeless expanse that we had to cross to get from Guardia to Por. There's now endless trees and a cathedral in the middle. We go in to find, for the first time since we started the game, a beautiful cathedral complete with nuns. But this time, the nuns aren't actually evil Naga in disguise, they're just normal nuns. The cathedral was built to honor Fiona, as well as her humble helper Robo, who revived the forest. We go to the center of the cathedral, and at the altar, stained glass shining down on his still rusty chassis, is our boy Robo, in a crouched position, covered in moss and dirt, clearly long inactive. We remove him from the altar, and he beats to life. He says, "Welcome, friends. It was only a quick hop for you, but it's been a long 400 years for me. I'm happy to see you all again. Let's celebrate." Robo's idea of celebration is one of the greatest works of sprite art in the history of video games. So the party is spending the evening deep in Fiona's forest, lounging around a campfire. Black silhouettes of tree trunks and green leaves frame the scene. The campfire in the middle casts a glow all around as the characters spend a quiet moment together. I'm going to skip part of my fruity writing. Marl's, but I will go through. Marl's lying on her stomach. Frog is gazing into the fire in thought. Luca's working on Robo because he clearly needs repairs. Chrono is asleep already. Ayla is sitting like a doofus. And naturally, Magus is brooding in the corner, away from the rest of the group. Then some very important dialogue happens. Robo reveals that he's been doing a lot of thinking these past 400 years, as you do. Contrary to what the game's been vaguely hinting, Robo doesn't think that Lava created the time gates. He thinks that perhaps some entity, some unknown living consciousness is guiding them. Ayla mentions that when people die, they relive all their memories. Frog notes that it's not just any memories that get remembered, but the most profound moments of someone's life, and usually the saddest. Robo says, yeah, memories usually come from regret. If only I'd done this, if only I'd said that. They all silently consider the unspoken implications of this line of thought. Until Marl, fresh off of her own side quest, dealing with things that she regrets, wonders if that's going to happen to them when the time comes. Luca must be startled by this suggestion, because Marl then turns her attention to her and says, Luca, is there anything moment that you're thinking of? Any moment you'd return to? Luca's like, no. And Marl's like, oh shit, I definitely just said something I shouldn't have. And Luca's like, yeah, I don't want to think about that thing that you just said. Anyway, final little bit of lore here. They ponder what this entity might be. I believe they use a capital E. Robo concludes that it's probably impossible to grasp the answer now from deepest in the flow of time, but maybe their journey will end when they finally discover the entity's true identity. Editor's note, this doesn't actually happen. Anyway, seeing no further resolution, they turn in for the night. Later that night, everyone is now asleep. Turns out Frog also sleeps like a doofus, as does Magus, who sleeps standing up like a damn Dracula. Luca wakes up. She hears something. She gets up. Now the player is controlling Luca for the first time ever, unless you intentionally do your party composition. She heads east. She sees that what last night was an innocuous clearing now contains a gate. Wordlessly, she opens it. It opens to reveal, for I think the only time in the entire game, a red portal instead of a blue one. Only time that's happened in the whole game. The portal is bright, terrifying red. She hesitates for a second and then goes in. I suspect here that she knows what's going on already at this point. She arrives at her own home in 1000 AD. She immediately understands, could it really be? If the player inspects her diary, they find out that as a child, Luca hated science. She says, Dad pays too much attention to machines, not enough to me, and his wife. You go out onto the balcony, and Luca sees her most painful memory right in front of her. Luca's mom, legs fully functional, is cleaning the living room with baby Luca. She says, ugh, this massive machine in the corner. Taban says not to touch it, but goodness, it is so freaking dusty. So she goes to clean it, but her skirt gets caught in the conveyor belt. The machine turns on. The mother screams at her daughter, please put in the password. Stop the machine. Young Luca doesn't know it. The conveyor belt starts to move, dragging Luca's mother into its maw. So at this point, you have a small little minigame that must be... It's a very simple minigame that must be completed.
It's a fucking terrifying minigame.
Exactly. It's a very short, easy minigame that must be completed in a very short amount of time. The solution is in another piece of writing in the house. The password is Luca's mother's name, Lara. But you run up to the machine and you click on it, input password, and you're like, there's no keypad. How can I enter the damn password if there's no keypad? If we remember, which we probably don't, my hot take is that this minigame is designed to be almost impossible to succeed on your first try. That's the point. I very firmly believe that failing is canon. Anyway, if we remember way back to our first jaunt in the future, we remember that the buttons on the controller themselves can be used to spell words. Lara. Those are all SNES buttons. Now here I'm conflicted. I have only seen one version of this scene in which Luca fails to change the past. To me, that's canon. But after deliberating on it, leading up to this point, I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and save her. I'm going to fucking do it. I already know how. I've played this game before. It won't be hard. I know how to do it. So I go up to the console, and I fuck it up. And I don't know what I did wrong. So I try again, but before I finish, it's too late. Because this is actually a very difficult thing to do, apparently, even if you already know how to do it. So, even with my cheating knowledge, for me, in my version of the game, Luca was not able to succeed. Lara's scream pierces the air. Cut to Luca in her room, crying on the bed. Somehow time has passed. We learn that Lara's legs have been ruined. She'll never walk again. Baby Luca blames herself, thinking if only she knew more about science and machines, then I could also not pay enough attention to my mom. And I could, and that's not part of it. And I could save her. Luca returns through the gate. Finally, Robo... yes, you go.
I succeeded, but just barely, because I also failed it, but then I realized, I need to get rid of the dialogue box first, and then I input the password.
Oh, is that how it works? Oh.
Yeah, so that may have been
I think I realized that, but I ran out of time, so. What about you, Sam?
So I have all... She's... I also have always failed historically, and I decided not to this time. So when you succeed, mom is like, "Wow, that was really dangerous," and baby Luca also is like, "Wow, yeah, don't know why it stopped. That was super dangerous." So Luca leaves, still is crying in the room. It doesn't really like. If I feel another reason why I think it's canon.
That's catharsis, baby. That makes fucking sense.
Yeah,
I can see her bawling her eyes out at that point.
Yeah, I don't think. I think maybe she would bawl her eyes out after going through the gate, more than just like.
That's a decent point.
let me just potentially fuck up the time stream and just cry here in my room, in which the little girl Luca has gone in, sees her future self crying in a room. He's like, "That's weird. Let me write a journal entry in which I say today was so scary. I'm not going to let anything I don't want to not understand anything ever again, because me not understanding almost ruined my mom's life. So I'm going to commit myself to understanding everything, basically."
That makes sense. So yeah, back in my version of things, it's very dark. Luca is very crushed. She's been given perhaps a divine second chance and still failed. In fact, she just got to revisit her most painful memory and not actually fix it. Robo is waiting for her as soon as she exits. She doesn't say anything here. It could be a bit of like silent protagonist style dialogue, because these games operate very much on imagination and suggestion. So it could be implied that she tells him what happens, or maybe fucking not. Maybe he just knows, which could be interesting.
In the slattery cut, I think it's implied that he knows. I think he's something like, "I can only guess what was on the other side of that gate."
Yeah. So that's really fucking cool. Robo is he's seriously one of my favorite. He's maybe my favorite character in this whole game. Even though he has
sucks
very
few.
Don't
ever fucking use him.
Even though he has very few important scenes. Robo's waiting for her. He says, in his classic, always upbeat, chipper, never gonna give you up sort of tone, he goes, "I'll give you my legs. They're lightweight and easy to use. Just slap some treads on me instead." This is an absolutely absurd thing to say, but Luca thanks Robo for being a good friend. Robo gives her a very special gift, and we return to the world map to continue the game. I find it very notable that she does not tell the rest of the party about it. I mean, maybe she does off screen, but I like to think that she doesn't. This is just her own thing, and Robo was there. So she and Robo shared that moment, and then she sort of just wipes her tears and continues on, because she is the best character in this game.
I'm trying to remember what he says, since because that obviously is about his her mom not making it.
Yeah,
so
Eli, do you remember what he says if you succeed?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I obviously don't, because I've never gotten that scene. I've never gotten the succeeding scene before. Probably just he probably doesn't have the part about "I'll give you my legs," you know. But yeah. Anyway, if you go back to their house later, it turns out that she's walking around instead of sitting in a chair, which is cool. But yeah, there's a lot to think about for this scene, and I'm not going to go on all day about it. But I do want to just mention that not only is there the important stuff about Luca, but yeah, there's also all that important lore stuff. This lore stuff does not get revisited. They just throw it out there, let you kind of think about it. The idea that there could be some kind of god, there could be some kind of entity. The planet's spirit could be reliving its own memories because it's about to die. It's like literally life flashing before its eyes before Lavos destroys it. Lot of interesting suggestions. They're not followed up on. They just kind of just plop it in there and say, "Hey, really dinks you donk, huh?" Next week we're just gonna kill a bunch of bad guys and save the day. So, is there anything else to discuss before we move on to MMs?
I do not think so.
Nice. Let's listen to some lovely music. What are we listening to?
We are listening to Boss Battle 1.
Yeah, doesn't work thematically here, but that's okay.
It does not work at all.
But we gotta put it somewhere.
We gotta put some song here, okay? Sorry, we already used all the sad ones.
Yeah. We did. Why did this game have to have something really fucking sad for 2 weeks in a row? Now we're out of sad songs. We've used both sad songs. So, Eli, what were your favorite bits this week?
So I took a few screenshots. My main memorable moment was Magus's quest, because Ozzy is just fucking hilarious. But the screenshots that I took specifically are of the carpenter who's drinking. It just reminded me of the whole like Brock in Pokemon being like, look at these jelly donuts, so good. I love jelly donuts, because this guy is like, he's like, bartender, give me another soda, and the bartender says, sir, I think you've had enough sugar today. And the guy is like, pipe down, I'll tell you when I've had enough. Can't you see I love soda pop? and then he follows up afterwards when you talk to him again with nothing like soda pop to quench your thirst. I'm like, yeah, buddy, soda. Definitely drinking soda. And also the whole like pour out a 40 of Dr. Pepper on my grave. Like, it just fucking cracks me up. Like, oh, so we can't have alcohol because this is the mid 90s and video games have to be wholesome and pure. But yeah, like all of this stuff with Ozzy, like so there's the part where he's got like a big like scythe that he's got in front of a chest. And so like I got curious. I'm like, maybe this is a timing thing. And so I went up to it to try and get the chest because I'm a dumbass. And I saved it just in case. Like I did a save state. But yeah, he fucking chopped my ass to pieces and was like, ha ha ha, I fucking got you, moron. But then I went back because I was like, no, I'm not going to fail. And then this poor imp goes up and just gets creamed.
Okay, so when you defeat his trap by not being an idiot, on one hand, that is pretty funny. On the other hand, I triggered the trap because I am an idiot, but also I think that's almost even more funny because you are canonically, I play my character as a himbo, right? Chrono is a stupid boy, and Chrono and Ayla and whoever else run into the trap like idiots, and yet, so it's like, haha, he outsmarted us, but it's like, bitch, we have heal spells, like it's fine,
right?
So then you just, because it takes you down to 1 HP, and then you just cast a heal spell, and it's like it never happened. So it's just like, even if you get caught by Ozzy's trap, it still doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. I loved, if you look at it and you don't go towards it whatsoever and you leave, he's like, no, come on. Like, I did this whole trap and everything. Like, come on, just try it. And then the imp walks up and gets destroyed. And I love it. Any more, Eli?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, what about the whole game?
I mean,
I just have a very, very few. I think some of mine probably got looped into those notes I was just reading. When you're doing the quest about, when you're doing the quest with the selfish man who becomes not selfish, if you go there earlier back when he's an asshole, again, his whole family hates him and it's really sad. He's apparently very abusive and not very nice. And the wife says something just like, I wish my husband cared about anyone else but himself. But after you go back after making them all nice, all the kids are like, everyone in the town loves my dad. He's the best person. He gives away all of his possessions. And you go upstairs and the wife in the kitchen says, I wish my husband were a little less generous. He's always giving away all of our shit. Which I think is extremely fucking funny. And then secondly, when you...
since you're talking about that that scene, there is actually one joke that Slattery added in.
Oh, let's hear it.
That was not present in the Woolsey cut, and it's fucking amazing. So you go upstairs to that house, and there's a little kid, and you talk to him, and it's like, yeah, my dad's really magnanimous, but I think he's just big boned.
Wait, but you cut out. Sorry, he just what?
He says he's just big boned.
That's really funny.
I love it.
The line in the Ted Woolsey version of that line's also pretty funny, but I didn't bother screenshotting it. But it's a totally different joke. Anyway, other thing, when you go into Azala's throne room, in 600 AD, if you click on the throne room, I don't know who in your party all does this, but for me it was Luca. When you click on the throne room, Luca goes up and sits in the chair, or she stands in front of the throne, and she does like an evil laugh, like presumably like in imitation of Azala, or I would imagine not even in imitation, just like using your imagination, like, hey, what if I was the evil villainess? That'd be kind of funny, you know? It's just a really cute one-off interaction that happens.
Yeah.
And anyway, final thing, this is actually not... Oh, wait, sorry. One more moment. When you go back to Medina Village and everyone's all nice, remember those guys that we burst out of their cupboard and they were like, get the fuck out of here? This time when you talk to him, he goes, hey guys, long time no see. What's up? And then another, when you're in the bar of Medina Village, there's a lot of good dialogues, but everyone's just having a great time. It's like the happiest village in the world. And one of the little imps goes, grooving on life, ... Finally, this is not an MM, this is actually important. I forgot to mention it. Remember that conspicuous locked treasure chest I mentioned earlier? Well, once you finish the courtroom scene, there's a conspicuous glowing sparkle in the courtroom. And if you click on that conspicuous glowing sparkle, it's a key. And if you go to that treasure chest, I'm sure you know what to expect at this point. That's right. They did the exact same thing they did 400 years ago. The actual Chancellor was stuffed in the treasure chest.
Oh my god.
And the Chancellor's like, wow, thanks. I've been in there for a fucking while. Time to go continue planning the Millennial Fair. At this point, we do get a hint of something that's going to come up in the ending. It's not an important plot point, but it's just a cute little detail. Apparently, there's going to be a really cool, amazing parade, like a midnight, like moonlight parade to wrap up the festival. And the Chancellor is in charge of planning that. So he's like, fuck, I'm so behind. Yep. So that's it for me. You got anything else,
Sam?
Sam?
He'd do something special for Marl at the
you're right.
moonlight thing.
You're right. He did. And I think that actually gets paid off. I think if I recall the ending correctly.
Okay.
I don't actually remember.
I don't have any that I didn't already bring up, but I do want to stress to everyone listening how fucking amazing the say hello to my little friend jumping through the fucking stained glass scene is for Marl.
It's stupid
It's
good.
so good.
Like, I have traditionally, all the other times I've played this, not really cared about Marl that much. Like, she's just been, like, she's been on the party screen, basically, the whole time. Haven't really used her, but this time around, I'm, like, actually, like, loving her so much in this scene. It was the perfect button on... It's, like, the perfect button on my new lease on Marl. Like, looking through her now, I'm like, oh yeah, 100%.
You know what's funny?
She's amazing.
You know what's funny? When we first started playing this game, I said something like, oh, Luca is the most important character in the game, right? One reason why I thought that, and I still think she's a wonderful character, but one reason I thought that was because I had transplanted a Marl scene onto Luca in my memory. When you're in the future and you see the destruction of all life on Earth and you see Lavos, all that stuff, I always thought that it was Luca that is like, holy shit, we gotta save the day. We can't let this happen. We're time travelers. We should become heroes and save the day. It's actually Marl who says that, not Luca. So yeah, Marl is fucking great. She's just a big-hearted sweetheart. She could be the hero of this game. It doesn't make any sense that Luca couldn't be the hero of this game. She's definitely a side character, even though she's very important and beautiful and wonderful. But Marl could easily be the central character of this game, if they wanted to. So I love her.
Yeah. And even though slight spoilers for some behind the scenes shit we'll get to if we play Chrono Cross, Luca becomes the backbone on which this series is built.
That's true.
But
yes.
Spoilers for an ending we're not going to do. Ayla is Queen Guardia the First. It's a direct bloodline from Ayla all the way up to Marl. Chrono Trigger, if not the Chrono series, is literally on Marl's backbone. She basically is the main character if we didn't spend all of last week asserting that Chrono was and stuff.
Yeah. And well, she's the main one saying, let's go save Chrono. Let's bring Chrono back. And also, weirdly enough, the game actually does make the romance between Chrono and Marl pretty much canon, which is interesting.
Yeah.
This game doesn't spend any time. It's weird that there's a canon romance in the game, but also not one that is an important part of the game. This isn't Final Fantasy VIII. This isn't Final Fantasy X, but it's just in the background. It's yeah, Chrono and Marl like each other a lot, which is really cute. Her dad mentions that. I just forgot to mention it.
But yeah, that's all that I had.
Yep, that's it. If no one's got anything else to say, then let's wrap it up. Wow, this went long. I thought I would be able to blast through it, but I guess we had a lot of content. Next week, we are beating the game. We're going to beat the game. I think we've all agreed we're going to beat the game by going through the final dungeon, the Black Omen. Although, if anyone wants to not do that, I guess they can. I don't know why you wouldn't, though, because you kind of need those sweet, sweet levels, because the final boss ain't easy, folks. Going through the Black Omen, in case you're curious, does wrap up a couple loose ends plot-wise. Whereas if you just go fight Lavos, it's well, we saved the day, but there's some weird loose ends that weren't resolved at all. As opposed to if you do go through the Black Omen, there will be one weird loose end that's not resolved at all.
So next week we will talk about the Black Omen and the good ending, which as of this week we all it's confirmed we all get the good ending, and so we'll talk about that. We'll then also talk about a couple random endings that aren't the joke ones, because there's quite a few joke endings. But and then we will also talk about my weird bullshit ending that I'm going to get that it makes it tie into Chrono Trigger, that makes the game kind of weird, or it ties into Chrono Cross, makes Chrono Trigger kind of weird. That's added for the PlayStation.
Oh, yes,
version.
I would love to hear the weird bullshit extra stuff. Yes, I've never known what that stuff was, even though I have played Chrono Cross, so I'm very excited to hear about that. Cool.
Yeah. It's weird. I'll let you guys know.
If you're playing along, I do want to say that final dungeon, it's not easy. It's got a bunch of bosses. It's very high level, so get on it. I'm probably going to start playing it tonight because it might actually give you a lot of trouble. But anyway, that's it. Beat the damn game. See you next week, folks.
For if you like what we do here and you want to hang out with us, you can see us on the web at www.rpgbook.club, and you can donate on our Ko-Fi, which is ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub, where you can vote on our next game, except not our very next game, because that one has already been decided. We are going to be playing Danganronpa 1 for our Best of the Rest round 2, and we'll be doing that in 2 and or 3 weeks. So do that. Also, if this is your first time listening to us, weird episode to come in on. But secondly, we also are in the middle of our first longcast podcast right now, where we're playing .hack GU, and all of us hate it, and it's probably in all of our top 10 video games. It's very weird. We all really love and really hate it, and so it's a lot of fun.
I'm really enjoying it.
It's great. So
suddenly, I'm glad that I made the decision to back out of that. I just have too many things going on and too many priorities that I've made, which is why I'm not playing it.
The reasons that we love it are reasons that it will be probably your favorite game of all time, Eli. It is 100% the vibe of like playing World of Warcraft in 2006, but not the playing the game version part of it. It's the hanging out on the forums, talking to your friends about it. That vibe.
That's true. It's not about playing an MMO. It's about being into an MMO.
Yeah,
it's not
that's why it's great.
Being an MMO player, which is not the same as actually playing the video game. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like while we talk about the plot stuff, we're just like, we go and we fucking punch a guy, whatever. But then we like hang out on the forums, and you can read this guy's like theory craft about like the lore of the game, and it's fucking great. And it's love the game. It's really bad. No one should play it. But check out Longcast if you're into that sort of thing. But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I've been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
Toodaloo.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Now we just need one more game with a weird way to say goodbye. And
there probably is one. I just can't think of it because I'm not smart.